So you've probably heard this one before, right? If you want to lose weight and lose it fast, just eat vegetables. It sounds so clean, so simple, so healthy. But what if that seemingly perfect solution is actually hiding some pretty serious risks? Well, today we're going to peel back the layers on this popular diet to get to what the science really says. Okay, let's get into it.
And that really brings us to the big question here. Is going all in on veggies a brilliant shortcut to a healthier you? Or could it be a huge misstep for your long-term health and maybe even your metabolism?
You know, this quote from registered dietitian Keith Iob just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the paradox we're digging into. I mean, how can a diet that's packed with what we all think of as nutritious foods actually be fundamentally unhealthy? Let's break down exactly how that can happen. Okay, first things first, let's be real about why this diet is so tempting. In the short term, it absolutely works for dropping pounds on the scale, and the reason why is based on some very, very simple science. At the end of the day, weight loss really just boils down to a calorie deficit. It's a basic energy equation. If you burn more energy than you take in, your body has to find that energy somewhere else, and it starts tapping into its stored reserves, yep, like body fat, to make up the difference. And this is where vegetables have a kind of superpower. They are incredibly low in calories. I mean, get this. A whole cup of raw carrots has only about 53 calories. 53! That means you can eat a massive amount of food without actually consuming a lot of energy. So it's super easy to find yourself on what's known as a very low-calorie diet or a VLCD. On plans like this, where you might be eating less than 800 calories a day, people can see the scale drop by like 3 to 5 pounds a week. The results feel dramatic and they feel fast. And this all has to do with a key concept called energy density. Veggies are mostly water and fiber, which gives them a ton of physical bulk, but hardly any calories. This is so important because they physically fill up your stomach, which sends signals to your brain that you're full, even when you're in a massive calorie deficit. I mean, just look at the numbers for a cucumber. It's over 95% water. That's wild. This incredibly low energy density is the secret sauce to the diet's initial success. You feel physically full, which helps you put up with the severe calorie restriction, at least for a little while. But, and this is a huge but, that feeling of being full, it's kind of a dangerous illusion. It's masking a much, much harsher reality. Because while you're watching the number on the scale go down, your body is starting to sound some very serious, very silent alarm bells. Okay, so here's the absolute biggest flaw in this whole plan. Your body doesn't just run on vitamins and fiber. It needs the big guys, the macronutrients, protein and fat, to do things like build and repair tissues, produce hormones, and literally thousands of other essential jobs. A vegetable-only diet basically starves your body of both. See, when you don't get enough protein, your body does something kind of terrifying. It goes into a state called sarcopenia. It starts to cannibalize its own muscle tissue to get the amino acids it needs to survive. So you're not just losing fat, you're losing the very engine that burns fat. And losing all that muscle makes you weaker and slows your metabolism down to a crawl. And it's not just the big stuff like protein and fat that disappear. Nope. You're also creating some really serious gaps in the tiny but crucial micronutrients your body is literally screaming for. Okay, let's talk vitamin B12 first, because this one, it's a total non-negotiable. It's absolutely essential for your nerve cells and your DNA. Here's the catch. B12 isn't made by plants. It's made by microorganisms and found pretty much exclusively in animal products. So in a strict vegetable-only diet without taking a supplement, a B12 deficiency isn't just a risk, it's practically a guarantee. And look, the data on this couldn't be clearer. The famous EPIC Oxford study found that a staggering 52% of vegans who didn't supplement were deficient in B12. And this isn't some minor inconvenience. We're talking about a major health crisis that can lead to permanent nerve damage. So you're probably thinking, but wait, what about all that iron in spinach? Well, here's the thing. Not all iron is created equal, not even close. Plants give you what's called non-heme iron, which our bodies are actually really bad at absorbing. Animal products, though, have heme iron, which is way, way easier for our bodies to use. You could eat a mountain of kale and still be at a super high risk for iron deficiency anemia. And then there's the final metabolic trap. Your body, it's incredibly smart. It's wired for survival, and when it senses this massive drop in calories, it hits the panic button and triggers a defense mechanism called adaptive thermogenesis. Your metabolism deliberately slows way down to conserve every single calorie it can. And what that means is, when you finally stop the diet, your body is primed to regain all the weight you lost, and often a little extra.
But listen, the damage from a diet this extreme, it's not just physical. The mental and behavioral fallout can be just as bad, if not worse, and it can last a lot longer. Think about it. The moment you start making these super strict rules and labeling entire food groups as bad or off limits, food stops being about nourishment, right? It becomes this source of anxiety and guilt and obsession, and that's setting the stage for some really disordered eating patterns. And this way of thinking, it often traps people in this awful pattern. It's called the binge-restrict cycle. You start with extreme restriction. Your body and your mind get completely drained. Eventually, your willpower just snaps, and that leads to a binge. And that binge is followed by this intense wave of shame and guilt, which drives you right back to restricting again, starting the miserable cycle all over. And if that cycle goes on long enough, that obsession can actually morph into something called orthorexia nervosa. With orthorexia, the focus isn't even on being thin anymore, it's about being pure or clean. It's an obsession with healthy eating that becomes so extreme that it actually starts to harm your health, leading to things like social isolation and deep anxiety around any food you think is impure. Okay, so if extreme restriction is the bad guy here, what's the solution? What's the right way to do this? Well, the good news is there's a much healthier, way more sustainable, and scientifically backed way to use the incredible power of plants for your health. Well, the answer isn't about restriction at all. It's actually the opposite. It's about abundance. This is about a total shift in your mindset, moving away from a vegetable-only approach to a balanced plant-rich one. Instead of obsessing over what you have to cut out, you start focusing on all the amazing things you can add in to really nourish your body. So this is what real sustainable health actually looks like. Yeah, it starts with a foundation of lots of different fruits and veggies for sure, but then you build on it. You add in whole grains for energy that lasts, legumes like beans and lentils for that crucial fiber and plant protein, and nuts and seeds for those essential healthy fats and minerals. This way, you get all the amazing benefits of a plant-forward diet without any of the dangerous downsides. And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. What if we just reframed the entire goal? Instead of chasing a temporary number on a scale through punishment and restriction, what if we focused on building sustainable habits that truly nourish our bodies, giving us not just weight loss, but health and energy that lasts a lifetime?